Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wild Moments brought to you by explore.org. And we have Ben in the house. How's it going, Ben?
Hello, Trishana. Hello, everybody. It is going great. Thank you. How are you? You look chilly.
I am chilly, but I think everyone's very tired of me complaining about how cold I am. Can you complain instead? How's the weather on your side?
The weather here is glorious, actually. It's in the mid 20s. The sky is clear. Evenings have not been that cold. I didn't even have a jacket on last night, so I have zero to complain about, I'm afraid. So complain away.
I mean, the sky is clear and there's sunlight here too, and it's very warm in the sun. It's just not when you're inside. Yeah.
You should move
Anyway,
to the low
everybody,
felt.
I have been dying to get back to the Lowveld because I've been really missing some in-person African bush time. But it doesn't take a lot of effort for me to drive to the Lowveld for a little bit of a mooch about there. So I should probably do that when I have a little bit of time. But it's been busy, and the Africam shows, Wild Moments, and the Tuesday Africam show have been a great relief. So I can still have a window into the bush for a little bit, however, virtually. And a very warm welcome to all of you, everybody. And remember that we're live and interactive, so send through those questions and those comments. I see I have a couple coming through, and they're going to keep on coming. But before we get into that, I had a sudden realization as we were doing checks today. And I realized that what do you really know about these guides that you trust with this information telling you about African wildlife? I mean, there was life before guiding, right? And there's so much to be known, normal people things about the people that provide their expertise. So, Ben, I'd like to ask you, what's something that we don't know about you that's not related to guiding that you feel comfortable sharing?
I'm glad you gave that little suffix at the end. I think maybe of interest of my misspent youth, I used to work in an Italian restaurant as a pizza chef, and I would go in first thing in the morning and I would make my dough from scratch using Italian flour and all the yeasts. I would wait for my dough to proof, and then in the evenings, I had my little pizza station was out in front of paying customers, which was terrifying, and I had to toss dough around my head and myself and the French chef, ironically, who trained me, would stand at opposite sides of the restaurant and throw pizza doughs to each other. And I'm proud to say that I never dropped one in front of people.
Oh, wow. And is this part of your demonstration when you do your night safaris?
Absolutely. I do it with orbits of planets and show how things don't crash into one another.
That is such a cool little tidbit. Very, very
What
fun.
about yourself, Trish? You can't put everything on me. I feel you should also share.
Um, to be honest, when I thought about this, I wasn't thinking about myself, so you've put me on the spot a little bit. But since you are talking about your youth and working in a restaurant, my first actual job, my first job was actually my brother deciding to subcontract me for his job, but I was underage, but he just didn't feel like doing it. And it was handing out pamphlets, like, go walking around and putting pamphlets in people's post
We've all
boxes.
done that.
Yeah, that was the first one, but I was underage. And my first actual job was working at a Greek restaurant, well, a Greek takeaway. I didn't get to flip dough, but I learned a lot of words for Greek food and worked with a very lovely Greek family. I
Excellent.
was
Well, there you
15,
go. Every day's a
15
school
nine.
day, as they say.
Oh, we're also normal people that had normal normal jobs, working in bars and restaurants to put ourselves through university and things like that. Oh, exactly. But I must ask you then, Ben, how did you get from pizza making to deciding that being in Africa and working with wildlife was your thing?
Well, it always was, but it's a cliche. I grew up in England. There aren't many lions and elephants and marula trees and things over there. So it was just a question of timing and saving and taking at the time what was a terrifying step, which turned out to be a brilliant one, to which I have absolutely zero regrets 20 years on.
Oh, nice. I like to hear that. I mean, when I see you, when I interact with you, it never really feels like you're not part of South Africa, if that makes sense.
I'm basically half South Africa. I've been here almost half my life now, so I think I've got honorary Springbok status.
I think you've got the full pass. Well, there you go, everybody. And now I can't wait for the next people that come onto Wild Moments because I can't believe I never thought about this before. I'm sure there's lots of interesting things to learn about people. But off to all of you. In fact, if you want to share what your first job was, please let us know. But so far, and Zygot says namaste to both of us. Osenegro says good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Tris Vissop is here as well. Greetings from a rainy Poland. Casper's Third Ghost says hi to us. And you're ready for wild moments, enjoying some coffee, like Ben. Is that coffee or tea, Ben?
English, Trish. It's tea.
It's gotta be tea. Very nice. Bridget McKinney says hi with lemon water. Jan Powers is here. Hi, Jan. Grumpy old man says, Chef Benarde. There you go.
I go by
And
many names.
I'm sure, did you use a uniform as well? Did you have a chef's uniform?
I did have a chef's uniform and an apron, no less.
Oh, we got to get a picture of this. I hope that Kirst is.
There may be some pictures somewhere. One day, if they crop up, I may nominate them.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what this segment is about. It's blooming and blossoming and becoming something. Dear NC says hello from Seattle. You woke up just in time for the show. We're very happy that you're here. Oh, Zygote says it's hot and steamy here. That's nice to know. But envious. Mindy Tillapau says you would love to be chilly. It's been in the 90s over a week in northeastern USA. Still envious though. We're not built for the cold as South Africans. Timber Grace says, good morning from a beautiful Minnesota. It's a gorgeous summer day. Very nice. And Tris Vissop says, wow, Ben, I wouldn't have guessed.
Hidden talents.
Hidden talents.
Although a long, long time ago, please don't ask me to do it now. It will be a disaster.
Oh, I feel like you should start practicing though, and the next time we have you on, it's just like riding a bike, right? MG Lebbett Spot says hi all the way from Bay Area in California. You're looking forward to the show and you hope there are no sad clips this week. Ice water, yummy. Well, that's the thing about the bush is that sometimes, um, I mean, it's 50-50. There's sad clips, there's happy clips, but I can confirm that there aren't many sad clips today. In fact, they are, I don't think so. You know, when Kirst tells us about the clips, she just gives us 5 words. Baboon eating at Lentore. Something like that. So we can't always tell what it's going to be. But the first clip that we're going to head on to or into is one from Moella. Now, if you remember last week, there was, or the week before, there was the wildebeest who struggled to, well, she wasn't giving birth, but she was aborting a fetus and ran into some complications and had died in that area. But since then, some other interesting things have happened alongside the carcass. Now, I can't say that I've often seen hyenas and jackals together, so this is a real treat.
No, I don't think I've ever seen so many jackals in one place either. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Three, six, seven, at least seven or eight there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And probably even more now that we're looking at this angle.
Oh, and some extracurricular activities.
Oh, there we go. You know what is a strange thing is that I have noticed that when there is a bit of a feeding frenzy going on, and this goes for lots of predators, that this seems to be something that happens pretty often near or around kills.
I don't think I've ever seen mating jackals. Now I think about it, I've seen hundreds of jackals over the years, but I don't think I've ever seen mating jackals. I've seen mating hyenas, but never mating jackals.
Whoa, to see mating hyenas is pretty epic.
And quite amusing, to some extent as well.
Um,
Complicated.
Mating jackals I have seen before, but it was when I was at Makala, so there were lots of jackals around. In the sands, I can't say I've ever seen mating jackals. Oh, there we go. This is really interesting. So they've now got the knot going on. I wonder how long it's going to last.
Yeah, struggling to disengage.
So this copulatory knot can last anything from 5 minutes to an hour, depending on the different type of canid and even the individual, because it all depends on the amount of blood that's going into the penis, essentially, and when that can disgorge, become less swollen, and that's when he'll actually be able to remove himself.
It must be rather awkward, and I'm surprised from an evolutionary perspective. I mean, it doesn't half leave them open to danger as well. They're not going to be able to move quickly. I understand. I'm assuming, and I think with your history, Trish, you're probably better qualified to answer this than I am. But I'm assuming that it makes sense to do that to stop another male mating and to ensure everything is transferred in as efficient manner as possible. But the downside does seem to be that was quick, but I know it
That was
can
very quick.
be problematic for a long period of time, and you're going to be very, very vulnerable to attack.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They won't, I mean, if it lasts for 30 minutes even, that's almost 28 minutes too long in terms of risk, right? And the purpose, as you said, is exactly that. The whole sort of the gland swells just above the base sufficiently so that the male can't pull out quickly. And that means that it prevents sperm competition because other males can't come in and mate with the female who's still engaged. But it also gives time for uh, post fluids to get deposited. And that coagulates and forms a little bit of a sperm plug, not in the same way as it does like with rodents. It gets really, really hard and solid. In fact, this might lead a little bit back to our conversation. One of the first science-related experiences I had was a work experience thing in high school, and I worked at one of the cancer research places at the university, and they had a lot of rats, and they actually showed me a sperm plug, and it was solid, white solid within the female, so that nothing else can come in, and it would last several days. So jackals have a similar thing,
Several
but
days.
several days.
And then
Jack
just does it just dissolve after time?
Eventually. And that's it. There's a lot of enzymes that are also working on those fluids to make it solidify. But in canids, it's more of just a gel. So it's not hard. It doesn't last as long, and it's kind of a secondary barrier to the copulatory knot that we saw there. But definitely leaves them open to
Hmm.
I mean, they're sitting ducks, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm surprised doing it at a site like that. If there was competition of lions, for example, I mean, you don't want to be stuck in a knot and then suddenly the lions take offense to your presence being there, and then yeah, escaping is going to be difficult. So I guess it's a calculated risk.
Yeah, but I also wonder if how successful that mating event was for them because the knot didn't last long. So maybe there was still a hint of, I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't as successful as they expected it to be. But very, very interesting. And I would love for you to please tell us your hyena mating story.
I saw it was when I was in the sands. I can't say whether it was successful. Maybe I should change that to attempted mating of a male who tried very hard, struggled, and I think the female got a little bit irked with the whole situation. And I couldn't categorically state whether it was successful or not, but I felt sorry for him. He gave it everything he had, but I don't think it went as well as he was hoping, shall we say.
Because there's a lot of maneuvering involved. Wait,
It's not easy, yeah, by all accounts.
definitely not. Anyway.
Minefield of what to say.
Yes, choosing our words carefully. Um, oh, Cindy, you said your first job was a paper route, and you think you were about 7 at the time. Very interesting. Mindy says,
Oh,
"Wow,
really?
yeah, I've never seen this many jackals at one time." I know that there was a lot of jackals. Um, Mindy says, I was just going to ask if jackals ever get stuck like dogs. Yep. In fact, I think most canids experience the copulatory knot. And Bear Happy says, tying one on looks painful. You'll never know until you try, and then you can report back. And Asunegro says, your first job was a switchboard operator for the university dorms. That's an interesting one. Uh, oh, grumpy old man. Has to be grumpy old man. One of my first jobs was a grave digger.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I wouldn't want to do that myself.
No, but I'm sure that he could have done many of those. Never mind. I realize that dark humor might not be the right time for this, but lots of influence dudes do this unboxing video thing. Anyway, Andy says, good day to all. First job in Florida was relocating gators. Ah, that's very cool. Keep them coming, guys. This is amazing. Learning a little bit about you. I think Kirst should also tell us what her first job is since she's just sitting
I agree.
in the background. Hmm. And while we wait for that, let us head over to Oldonio and see what this interaction between lion cubs and porcupines are like, or a porcupine. It always boggles my mind that there's any animal that wants to come close to this. How cool is that sound, everyone?
The porcupine seems to be the aggressor in the situation. It doesn't seem to be too fussed. It's the one moving towards the lions. The lions are the ones moving out of the way. Talk about role reversal. It's not like he's trying to escape.
No.
Almost daring them.
All right, one would assume the porcupine is doesn't need to engage anymore. The lions are happily having a drink. Oh,
Oh no, coming back. So interesting how the adults are completely unfazed. They're keeping a wary distance, but are showing no interest. The cubs being, they've got to learn, and they will learn the hard way, I have no doubt, at some point. Oh.
Well, this is not a question I can answer, but this interaction is making me wonder whether there is I don't know, like an aspect of ego with animals. Of course,
Hmm.
we could never know, and we could never answer this. But why would an animal put itself in a position to potentially get end its life, when it has so many opportunities to get out of the situation?
Especially being a porcupine, you run away, all your quills are pointing towards the dangerous thing chasing you as well. So, I mean, they have a tendency to back into danger anyway. So it kind of makes sense to make a quick getaway. But yeah, maybe that was a particularly overconfident porcupine, maybe has won a few exchanges in the past. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I've seen leopard take out porcupine. I'm sure I must have seen lions with a porcupine kill at some point, but it seems to be more common amongst leopards. I saw one get taken out in real time once, which was pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, and obviously they still come off with injuries, but they seem, or I don't think I've seen a lion with a porcupine kill before, but seen a few leopards with porcupine kills.
I've seen lions with porcupine quills stuck in various places in their body, but I've never actually seen them take one. But yeah, I was lucky enough once to see a leopard take out a porcupine in front of me, which was pretty amazing. The poor thing covered in quills, but no ill effects from it. But yeah, as I say, a cliche, but a prickly proposition, certainly.
I do love a bit of punniness. But what you said that was quite interesting was thinking about whether this porcupine had had successful attempts in the past that got him to this point or her to this point. And it's something that I didn't actually consider, thinking about machismo or feeling like there's a bit of a bigger ego, but those ideas could actually just be fed by successful past interactions. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I want to show you how big I am, but I've learned that I can be better at this. I don't have to run away.
Could be, but so I think, and I'm sure you would agree that in the animal kingdom, bravado goes a long way. Take something like an aardwolf, little peg-like teeth, but will still stand its ground and growl, just not exposing its little teeth. Confidence is, or psychological warfare is very, very important. But yeah, whether that is nature or nurture, I suppose, is the debate.
Yeah. Mindy says hard to get size perspective on the absolutely. With the close up, the porcupine seems pretty big, and even because the porcupine was on one side of the waterhole at one point, and the lions on the other, it almost looked like they were the same size, but there is a significant size difference. But when the porcupine has its quills all erect and exposed, and you heard the rattling as well, then it almost makes them look double their size.
They're always bigger than I think, though. I mean, we've got a couple of porcupines that visit here where I live, and we see them sometimes in the evening. And I'm always surprised. They're always bigger than in my head I think they are. But as you said, a lot of it has to do. I'd be very interested to see a shaved porcupine, if or a plucked porcupine. I'm not sure what the appropriate terminology would be, to actually get a proper idea of its body size.
Yeah, and even a good idea of the body shape, because that's also
Hmm.
distorted. Yeah. And Trish says the best way to defend is to attack. Yeah, but I thought it would end at the first or second bout, and then the porcupine had ample opportunity to escape. But I guess um, you don't always have to. Kim Faustino, you say they are aware that the porcupine is dangerous. The quills could be fatal. Well, I suppose in the right place, the quills could definitely be fatal, but that goes for pretty much anything, right? If you trip, it's could be fatal if it's in the just the right position. But most of the time, the quills can cause damage, but I haven't seen them be fatal. Have you been?
No, not personally. There's always the chance of infection, or I suppose if it was to hit a nerve or something and do a little bit more damage than just a stab wound, perhaps. But I haven't personally seen a predator that we know for sure has succumbed to a porcupine quill. I'm sure it's very uncomfortable. But yeah, into bacteria, secondary infection, I would think would be the biggest potential danger.
Hmm. And the only other thing I could think about is potentially getting a quill in the eye, and then that
Mm,
quill going further in, which would obviously then hit nerves and brain.
would be good.
But they certainly know that it's dangerous, and they cause discomfort and might take them, uh, might get stuck in their paws, and then inevitably it would lead to their survival being compromised because they might not be able to hunt as effectively or take care of their cubs if it's a young, older female. So there's definitely dangers involved in getting, too close to a porcupine. And we've got Kirst has answered, and she said her first job was handing out leaflets for promos. I mean, still good. I can't remember what pamphlets I was handing out. I think it was like real estate or something. Something very exciting. Anyway, let us
My
move on.
first official job, staying with the food theme, was probably Burger King. So maybe that I had a thing about food in my youth.
But did you
I don't think I
flip
ever
the
did leaflets. No, it was a lot of microwaving and putting in not we didn't microwave the patties just to keep them warm. But
uh,
I was pretty adept at, I could make a Whopper pretty quickly. That's a strange sentence. Let's move along.
Before we move along, Jan Power says that she too started out working the front desk in your college dorm, but was also part-time at Woolworths. And yes, you are that old. I don't know when Woolworths was around in the US, but I imagine it was quite some time ago, Jan. All right, let us head on to the next clip and let's go over to Lentori and see what exactly is going on with this baboon's face. Oh, oh,
Oh, wow.
that's teeth that I'm seeing, right?
I'm not sure. Whatever it is, it looks like it's healed. It looks like it's lost a chunk of cheek and lip, but it is healed successfully. Is that tongue? Is that I
It's
don't
tongue. It's
is
tongue.
that teeth?
It's
Yeah, it
tongue.
is tongue.
Tongue and now there's some teeth, but that is tongue. But you're right. It looks healed. It doesn't. It looks dry. It looks like an oldish injury.
I'm sat here trying to think what would have happened if it's a bite. It looks like a bite just from the shape of it.
I can imagine a leopard getting the face of a baboon.
Yeah, feasible, or another baboon in some sort of
Hmm?
interspecific confrontation. I mean, they've got very sharp teeth or big incisors, but yeah, that looks like quite a clean. Obviously, say it looks like it's healed and scar tissue has formed. But I don't see. Do you see teeth? I don't. Are the teeth? Is the tongue on the teeth, or did it lose a? I don't think it's lost a piece of the jaw.
Uh, if you pull, when it pulls its tongue in, you'll be able to see teeth. But yeah, it
Right.
doesn't look like jaw. It just looks like a flesh wound. Oh, now off it goes. Someone suggested a cleft lip.
Pretty
I don't know.
extreme, but it could be a
Yeah,
genetic thing. It looked almost clean enough, and there
yeah,
wasn't obvious trauma for
yeah,
something recent, certainly.
and also not any trauma on the gums or in that
No.
area. And if you imagine an animal struggling, pulling, it's trying to pull itself away from teeth on its mouth, you're going to see other trauma. It's not just going to be a clean. a clean chunk out. But it could just be old and everything else has yeah,
Gums and things do tend to heal quickly. I
quickly.
don't know if they heal any better than external skin, but certainly from personal experience, if you do have a cut or something in your mouth, that it heals well and usually heals pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
and if it is an old injury, maybe it's just not quite so evident. But yeah, but if it's a cleft thing, it's quite an extreme case. Put it that way.
Yeah. And if it is, that would be really interesting to study. I wonder what its relatives look like and whether there's even just an inkling of that um, going on in their faces too. Mindy, you say it's amazing how animals can rebound from such horrific injuries. It is. There's so many times where I've seen animals and I thought, "Ooh, that's bad," or "This animal looks like it's going to die," and then next week they're fine.
Yeah. Or they're limping really badly and suddenly they break into a sprint when the time comes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wild animals are really, really resilient, and a lot of the time you can't predict what the outcome is going to be out of an injury. Sometimes it's obvious, but a lot of the time I am surprised, pleasantly surprised. Ben, it's time for us to say goodbye. Any last words? Anything you'd like to share?
That sounds very finite. Any last words? Um, I think I've shared more than enough today, actually. So no, just thank you for everybody for questions and comments, and yeah, some amazing clips as always. And I, for one, very much look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. Make sure you have something else interesting to tell us about yourself by that time. Thank you all for joining us and thanks for sharing what your first jobs were. It's always nice to get to know you all a bit better while we enjoy African wildlife and learn something about the wildlife too. So it was a good one, everyone. See you again next time. Thank you very much, Ben. Always a pleasure to have you on board. And goodbye for now.